Welcome to Speak from the Body, a podcast that seeks to explore the wealth of wisdom of the body. My name is Avni Trivedi, and I'm your host, as well as an osteopath, doula, and movement teacher. In this podcast, I speak to experts about all sorts of topics to do with the body, such as touch, trauma, body confidence, gratitude, birth, movement, relaxation, and baby development. My wish is that you learn how to connect with, listen to, and respect your body. Today's episode was recorded during Twixmas, the quiet spell between Christmas and the New Year. I absolutely adore Twixmas. It's such a quiet time, with fewer emails and expectations, and it's a time I can get lost in books, films, and free time. I think it's important to forget what day it is and loosen up on the usual routines for a little while. At the same time, I'm not into the huge turnaround from binging in December to strict restriction in January. There's no need to get into the new year, new you mentality when simple changes can be so powerful. Speaking of next year, whilst many people seem to be ready to kick 2020 goodbye, I think it's important to realise that things aren't suddenly going to be better just because we might be breaking open a new diary. I often talk about the benefits of tiny habits rather than demanding regimes. In the same way, it's possible to prepare for the coming year. Whilst 2020 has been such a turn of events that's been peppered with many clichés such as the new normal, and in these unprecedented times, we always have a chance to begin again. It's a practice that we can use as often as we choose to, whether daily, weekly, monthly, or every quarter. I'm not going to be setting resolutions, but I am going to set intentions around the new moon this week. I find that it's easier to focus for a shorter amount of time, such as a week or month. Right now, I've been doing a 12-day cardio challenge during the Christmas period. Knowing that it's only 12 days makes it more doable and easier to build momentum, and showing up at the same time each day has helped to stay on track. I'm the kind of person that prefers rituals to rules, and turning everyday actions into rituals gives them more purpose and meaning. In order to start fresh, the first step is to reflect on where you're already at and how things have been. One of my favourite ways for reflection is journaling. I've got 4 journaling prompts to share. If you don't already journal, it's great to write by hand rather than type, as the movement of the body is more connected with our emotions. As writer Natalie Goldberg says, always keep the hand moving. Journaling is a way of having a conversation with yourself to stay in flow. Apparently, over 90% of our thoughts are repeated, so the act of laying down our thoughts on the page feels very freeing. I'll share all 4 prompts and then I'll share my answers. If you don't have a pen and paper handy, you can always reflect on your answers, or they'll be in the show notes and you can catch them afterwards. Although it's an exercise for you to do alone, you might want to share them with your loved ones so you can support one another to live in ways that are more aligned to the things that you value. Number 1, what would I like less of? Number 2, what would I like more of? Number 3, what makes me feel lighter is? Number 4, what brings me joy is? So here are my answers. I'd like less pressure on myself. I'm finding a better rhythm and routine that's been so helpful. More structure with client time and podcasting time and writing, but I can still put pressure on myself that I should be working longer days or doing more or seeing results more quickly. It's not always easy to untangle those expectations, but I'm committed to working in a sustainable way, and that means that being busy is not the main marker for me. I'd also like less monotony. Easier said than done because there are many restrictions right now, but it's a good invitation to find ways to do things differently and keep things fresh. I learn a lot from my baby and toddler clients because they're always seeing things with fresh eyes, and it's affirming to know that we can change our perspective. I'd like more connection with other like-minded people. I've been finding writing groups and exercise classes and women's circles really supportive, and the online versions have been surprisingly helpful. I thought that as an introvert, I need one-to-one or just a couple of people around, but I've really loved being amongst large groups of people when we're all just doing our thing. It's helped with accountability and staving off loneliness. I'd also like more space to make things. This year, I've enjoyed growing things, baking and making, and of course this podcast. I've known it intellectually for a while, but this has been a chance to practice the sense of less is more. Eating foods that I've prepared and using body products that I've made means I know what's in them, and I'm also saving money. And with less rushing and distraction, I've been more fulfilled. What makes me feel lighter is movement. Even though I'm someone who detested sports at school, I love movement. Avoiding public transport has meant that I walk more and really enjoy it. An audiobook and a walk are such a good way to spend time. And having been into equipment Pilates classes for so long, I'm now getting into the convenience of online classes. It's particularly been a game changer to find a style of movement where the instructor leads without talking. It's given me so much more sense of peace and more connection with my breath and body. Particularly in the colder weather, moving every day has given me more energy and lifted my mood. So much as I love my peaceful practices such as meditation or guided relaxation, it's helpful for me to start my day with some form of movement that gets the breath moving and the blood pumping. I also feel lighter when I have more time outside, in nature, and my home is in order. This is useful to make sure that I plan for time outside or make sure I'm clearing up my space so it doesn't become too cluttered. What brings me joy? It's been nice to reflect on this question because there's so much in the news and in everyday conversations about struggles and despair. Despite what we might have believed, we aren't really in control. So instead of being completely vulnerable to whatever comes our way, I feel empowered to think about what brings me joy. Knowing the answer to this question helps me to make sure that I'm seeking out these tiny moments of connection. The things that bring me joy are reading and writing, dancing, having time on my own, and balancing that with time with people who are uplifting company. Joy is one way of combating stress and something that I'm committed to in the coming months. There's been a lot of talk about resilience, but that feels serious and weighty. Making space for moments of joy feels more uplifting and lighter in my body. Do share your answers to the journaling prompts with me on Twitter or Instagram @AvniTouch. I've also linked to last year's episode from this time of year about letting go of the year and welcoming the new. There are some ideas about decluttering and gratitude that you might find helpful. Look out for the chance to join me for a non-linear movement class next month about releasing the old and calling in the new. It's so great to work with these themes on a body level. Thanks for listening to this episode. If you've enjoyed it, please send me a comment on Twitter or Instagram @AvniTouch. Subscribe to Speak from the Body on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go to avnihouch.com/podcast to get the show notes. And finally, please head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. Thank you.